Look, if you have to sneak to do it or lie to cover it up, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. That's a quote that applies to when you catch your partner with someone else, and for times when the contestants were caught cheating on the show. By the way, we're gonna be living the American dream with this new season of Hell's Kitchen, and it looks pretty exciting. Until then though, speaking of cheaters, this disgraceful douchebag cheated on his fiancée while keeping Heather in the dark about it. But let's not give that jerk any attention today. So, onto the list. Who's up first? Let me drop some hints. Well, he served raw chicken to Chef Ramsay during a challenge. But I guess a lot of them have. Right, okay, so here's another. He was a hand model who served literal poop as his signature dish. Does that ring a bell? Yeah, so I'm talking about the young gun, Matthew.
I'm a big lover of shrimp,
okay,
but I'm not very good at eating shrimp and the sack.
It was the 300th dinner service, and the pressure in Chef Ramsay's kitchen was hotter than ever. Matthew found himself at the meat station alongside Peyton, and what's more, he knew that this was his last chance to prove himself. As Chef Ramsay let the entrees get started in both kitchens, Matthew saw his moment. He was assigned to handle the lamb, but when he brought it to the pass, this happened.
Sorry?
it's rare.
It's rare. Pass me though. It's not funny, Matthew.
Anyway, he chewed out the entire team, ordering them to get their act together. Matthew, feeling like he was dragging the team down, stepped back and let Peyton take him out of the meat. Then came the VIP order, a make or break moment. But neither Matthew nor Peyton could remember what was on the order. Chef Ramsay couldn't believe his ears. He was livid that they could forget such a crucial detail and made them apologize to Mike Tyson.
It's gonna be about another 10 minutes on that. Not a great feeling.
Desperation set in as Matthew tried to ensure the chicken was cooked perfectly. He resorted to a sneaky tactic. He pulled a digital thermometer from his pocket, thinking it would save the day.
Where the hell did we get digital thermometers?
Good question, dude. Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure. That's gonna bite him in the ass. Chef Ramsay, growing even more frustrated, asked for a time on the order, expecting a clear response. But chaos erupted as Peyton and Antonio, another chef, provided two different timings. At this point, the famous chef had had enough. He ordered the entire team to the front of the pass for an explanation. But Matthew only had excuses.
It's just really fast and we're trying and
Really fast?
Yes.
Chef Ramsay forced them to call out the order multiple times to ensure that they were on the same page. Finally, he ushered them into the pantry for a meeting where Antonio knocked some sense into him.
Pace is not an excuse. You're in a restaurant. It's not an excuse.
When the blue team came downstairs for the elimination, Chef Ramsay had this incredulous look on his face. He held up Matthew's abandoned meat thermometer, which he'd carelessly left behind.
Somebody sneaked a meat thermometer in here, still couldn't produce any cooked protein.
That had to have been humiliating as hell. Chef Ramsay then took a moment to remind Matthew of his previous screw-ups. Like the shitstorm during the signature dish challenge, that time he served up raw chicken in the alcohol challenge, and now the undercooked lamb during the dinner service. You could tell that the famous chef was clearly running out of patience with Matthew's, well, just Matthew, honestly.
Your attitude sucks. Therefore, I'm not listening to your Give me your jacket.
Brutal, right? But before Matthew walked out that door, Chef Ramsay had some parting words for him. He basically told him straight up that if he wanted to survive in this cutthroat culinary world, he needed to shape up and get his act together. Oh yeah, and he added this as well.
And the next time you decide to cook protein, use it properly.
It was pretty crystal clear. In Chef Ramsay's kitchen, nothing gets past him, and he expects nothing less than perfection. Matthew would have known how much Chef Ramsay hates thermometers had he watched season 10. Or just any other season for that matter. You gotta remember when this contestant was kicked out of the kitchen in the middle of service for doing the exact same thing, right?
A thermometer. The day we need that to cook a breast of chicken.
Well, I'm gonna lay it out for you either way. It was the Mexican night dinner service, and Barbie had frustrated Chef Ramsay at that point with her inconsistent muscles and complete refusal to accept Chef Christina's help despite how much she was struggling. And then using the thermometer to check the chicken's temperature? That was the nail in the coffin. What's the big deal about using them anyway, though? You've got one, I've definitely got one, what gives? Well, I guess the reason might be that if you're a seasoned chef, you should have the skills to be able to know any given protein's temperature without relying on them. Chef Ramsay can gauge it by feel, but you can also determine it by slicing into the meat as a last resort anyway. I mean, they're in this competition to win a head chef role at one of his restaurants, so it's fair for him to expect those standards, right? And more practically, puncturing the meat with that giant metal rod will send those meat juices on a one-way trip out of the meat, drawing it out real quick while it rests. So if you thought Chef Ramsay was making a big deal out of nothing, well, you're kinda wrong. Anyway, up next we have Vinny, the self-proclaimed judge, jury, and executioner of the show. He was assigned as the assistant maître d' during the second service in season 8. This guy couldn't even remember which tables he was in charge of, and it took him a solid 30 minutes just to get his first order ticket to Chef Ramsay.
Vinny, are you trying to sabotage your own team?
No, not at all.
No. Understand what you're doing. Own up to it.
Strike one. But then, this little backstabber did something even more awful.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If you guys order sides, you're gonna be here till next Tuesday.
Okay, so trust issues aside, who gave you the right to make that call, huh? And oh, strike two by the way for those of you keeping score at home. Thankfully, James caught wind of Vinny's little scheme. He dragged Vinny over to the pass and laid it all out to Chef Ramsay. This move led to Vinny being summoned into the kitchen where he tried to explain himself. According to him, he only told the table to skip the sides because he knew Raj was slow.
Now Captain Vinny here is telling the customers not to order sides.
Man, don't do my homie Raj like that. Dude deserves better. And that is a hill I'd choose to die on any day of the week. Cause like, that isn't Vinny's place to decide. Only Chef Ramsay has that kind of authority.
You do not decide what goes out of this kitchen. Get out!
But anyway, strike three, you're out. Insubordination like that was immediate grounds for elimination in my opinion. I mean, look, we've seen contestants get the boot for way less than that. Chef Ramsay was honestly pretty lenient here. However, one might argue that his intentions were good.
I said exactly what was the truth, whether it was hard to swallow or not. I felt bad for the people.
I'd say that they were misguided though, but don't at me. Now, let's revisit the Alaskan Fish Challenge from season 14, shall we? In this challenge, Adam was paired up with Millie. In the beginning, he mentioned that the frigid waters gave him a bit of a startle when he grabbed the fish, but they managed to get their halibut pieces just right. So far so good. Chef Ramsay and Michael Simorusti were judging when he presented his dish, a pan-seared halibut served with grilled baby bok choy and basmati rice. Okay, so do you want the good news first, or the bad news? Good? Okay, I got you. The judges were reasonably pleased with the flavor of his fish. But here comes the bad news. This time, Adam found himself in hot water. Millie served his halibut with cheese with bell pepper rice, and the judges got this funny feeling.
Did you take some of Millie's rice? I'm sorry? I'm gonna cut the bullshit. Did you take Millie's rice?
They accused Adam and Millie of sharing ingredients. Well, did they?
I don't care. Yeah?
Unfortunately, yes. Turns out, when they got down to it, Adam ran into a bit of a hiccup. His risotto, as it turns out, was seriously falling behind schedule. Dude was panicking. Millie, being the kind teammate that he is, came to the rescue by offering some of his own rice to help Adam out. At least Adam didn't try to deny it and fessed up to the whole ordeal.
Yes, sir.
But the famous chef wasn't about to give him a pass because of his honesty.
This was your dish. Absolutely, sir. So, no shared ingredients. You got it, chef. Not good.
Ouch. As a result, they lost the round, and the blue team ended up taking quite the hit in the challenge with a less than ideal score of 1-3. Well, I get it. Sharing is caring, but don't forget that you're in Hell's Kitchen. Of course, this video would be incomplete without mentioning this.
What do you want? Give me the tape. Give me the masking tape.
Oh, I gotcha.
Andrew here at least deserved props for ingenuity. Or at least, that's what a ton of fans think. Like this person right here who thinks he wasn't being a jerk at all. It was a smart move to eliminate a bottleneck in the process. But sous chef Scott didn't agree when he caught him straight in the act. Yeah, the silence was me trying to lift my jaw from the floor. No kidding, the man was like a hawk. But here comes one of the most hilarious moments from the show.
Look at the fillet!
Molested that poor thing. People have gone to jail for worse. Looks like he went with it with a jackhammer.
Yeah, Seth's filet fiasco. Our man was holding down the garnish station alongside Jay during the first seating of the steakhouse double service. As mind-bending as it may be, he had never prepped a filet before, so he asked Charlie for some help. And when Chef Ramsay asked, "Where's the filet?" instead of a straightforward answer, he saw Seth sneakily stashing something into the fridge.
2 minutes, chef.
Not a good look. It was all the wasted meat from the tenderloin, which had been butchered in the most disastrous way possible. It was quite the sight, and Chef Ramsay went absolutely in. He grabbed the tenderloin and flung it at Seth.
We fucking wasted the most expensive part!
But this reminds me of the time in season 3 when Jen thought it would be a smart move to toss out cooked spaghetti because, according to her, they wouldn't be needed. And what exactly happened next? Chef Ramsay asked for them on the very next ticket. And what did she do? She grabbed the discarded pasta from the trash and would have even served it to the customers if Julia didn't catch her in the act. No, it makes sense, right? The trash slurry adds that extra bit of umami. Anyway, back to Seth. Chef Ramsay wasn't gonna let him dodge responsibility.
I never butchered a fillet before, so congratulations, you just have.
And when Chef Ramsay gives you a nickname, it's never a term of endearment.
Hey, Forrest, come here, you. Keeps calling me Forrest. I think it's a great name.
Donut? Donkey? Dickface? Muppet? Gremlin? Take your pick, but all of them really just do a number on your confidence. Now fast forward to the second seating, where Seth switched roles and became a waiter. This is where the plan took a really interesting turn. Seth started bringing back steak orders, claiming that they were undercooked. But Chef Ramsay saw right through it. Those steaks were cooked to perfection, exactly as ordered. So why the sabotage?
We will do anything we have to do to win. We will take food back up. They sabotaged us first, so now it's open game.
You're the only one getting played, dude. Quit digging around, because do you really think Chef Ramsay doesn't know about those shitty schemes of yours?
Hey, are you trying to stitch them?
Not at all, Chef.
Do you want to serve more food to slow them down?
He just asked.
Fuck off!
However, in the very next service, Seth was at it yet again.
What is he doing?
Yeah, he was wiping his face with a cloth and then wiping a fresh pan with that same dirty cloth. No, hear him out, you guys. Sweat's got salt in it, right?
If this one's for your fucking nose, where's your cooking cloth?
I'll have to get one, Chef.
Fuck off, William.
In all seriousness though, the guy gave me a bad feeling from the very start. Do you remember his reaction when Chef Ramsay complained how much he hated his signature dish?
That's the worst dish I've ever tasted. And you're laughing.
In hindsight, maybe it was a defense mechanism, who knows? Up next is Season 3's infamous wedding planning challenge. Our leading lady, Melissa, basically said, give us this day our daily duck breast. Now, you'd think this change would be smooth sailing, but hang tight, it's about to get really interesting. Jen had some reservations about the cooking time for the duck, but Melissa was firm in her decision. She felt like she was thrust into the leadership role, and she was gonna own it. So the women went along with Melissa's choice instead of the lamb. And honestly, they really shouldn't have. During the service, Melissa made it clear that the team should turn to her for guidance, just as Chef Ramsay wanted. Wait, what? Chef Ramsay never wanted that. Anyway, Julia decided to sear the duck breast, but Melissa had other plans. She butted in and told Julia to change her approach, all while tossing a little insult in Bonnie's way for good measure.
A little bit of knowledge of how to cook. Otherwise, you shouldn't be here. I thought that you knew how to cook too.
Ooh, big talk coming from someone who sucked big time. I mean, come on, her performance was atrocious. Those who have seen the season know what I'm talking about. Julia, trying to keep the peace, took the duck breast out of the oven to let it rest, but guess what? Melissa decided to put it back in to keep it quote-unquote warm. Genius! So, you'll take responsibility when it comes out overcooked, right?
I didn't make it overdone. Your job, your station. You stuck it back in the oven. Don't try it.
Exactly. She didn't even try to save face. This was clearly Raj level of incompetence. The wedding couple was gonna taste their dishes alongside Chef Ramsay, and that revelation sent a wave of panic coursing through her. Panicked, she tried to persuade Chef Ramsay that it would be a grave mistake to serve their dishes. She even pulled Jen aside and begged her to not serve their dish, insisting that a plain old duck breast wasn't gonna cut it. But Chef Ramsay was through with that crappy attitude of hers.
I'm starting to get pissed. Now, will you send your food?
Given how spectacularly she crashed and burned, she had a lot of nerve bossing around her team like that.
If anybody has a question, let's just ask me, since that's what the chef's been doing.
Cringe. Don't know how you feel about public declarations of love.
Will you marry me?
Now, we all sure love Ramsay's public declarations of disappointment.
You're safe, so you're sabotaging everybody else.
Absolutely not, Chef!
It's fucking raw!
Andrea, what a piece of work you are. In the 5th dinner service of Season 5, Andrea pulled a rather crafty move. She concealed some burnt Wellingtons, hiding them from her unsuspecting teammates. And then came the deception. She flat out lied, claiming that she was in the process of refiring those Wellingtons. Chef Ramsay, however, has an uncanny knack for sniffing out bullshit.
Yeah, shut up. What is this?
In absolutely no time, he unearthed a stash of wasted meat, and let's just say he wasn't a happy camper. The famous chef made sure that the entire red team witnessed the burnt Wellington she had tried to keep under wraps, and just to express his frustration, he did this.
Pile of shit.
Later in the service, Andrea found herself in another predicament. She informed Chef Ramsay that she needed an extra 4 minutes to get her Wellingtons just right. Chef Ramsay, with a raised eyebrow, called her out, noting that she'd given the same excuse earlier.
You're fucking up big time.
Yes, chef.
And I'm getting really pissed off because nothing's happening.
In an attempt to salvage the situation, she admitted that her timing was all over the place, and she hadn't communicated very well with Carol, who was holding it down at the fish station. Well, at least she wasn't deluded about her underwhelming performance. With that in mind, let's get into the egg relay challenge from season 7. Here, the chefs had to whip up 4 different egg dishes: poach, soft-boiled, scrambled, and my personal favorite, sunny side up. What's your go-to eggy delight? Let me know in the comments section down below. Now, the women's team found themselves short-staffed with 1 less member, and Siobhan was tasked with the job of cooking all the eggs solo.
Siobhan,
Yes, chef.
you're on your own today.
Yes, chef.
Ample instructions, right? Hard to mess up, you'd think. But when the clock started ticking with a 5-minute countdown, things took an unexpected turn. Siobhan, who was under the sway of Autumn's suggestions, decided to collaborate with her and Fran.
Siobhan, work with me and Fran, all right?
No problem.
Yeah, so she just gave in. Autumn ended up taking the reins on Siobhan's sunny side up egg in the red kitchen, while Siobhan focused solely on her poached egg. Not quite what they were instructed to do, right? And honestly, I blame Autumn here.
We have 5 minutes to make these eggs. Siobhan's got all this to do herself. I can make her sunny side up egg.
When the famous chef asked her how long she'd been boiling her soft-boiled egg, Siobhan first tried deflecting.
I just cook them every day, chef, so I have a very good grasp for how long they're cooked for.
How could she give a straightforward answer when the truth was incredibly embarrassing? But she did end up confessing that she'd received help from her teammates. Chef Ramsay was utterly dismayed and asked her why she didn't stick to the plan and cook her eggs solo.
Because there was pressure from my team. Are you serious? Not from my team, from Autumn.
Siobhan then tried to clarify, stating that Autumn had forced her into the collaboration, but Autumn retorted that she had merely suggested working together. The famous chef, not one to let things slide, pressed Siobhan to fess up which eggs she had actually prepared herself.
So you only poached 1 egg in 5 minutes?
I did 2 poached eggs.
How can I make it any more fucking clearer than that?
Siobhan, consumed by anger at herself for not standing up to Autumn, couldn't hold back her tears. She regretted not pushing Autumn away and taking charge. But if I'm being honest, even Autumn should have gotten criticism for failing to abide by the rules.
I shouldn't have listened to the teammates that were forcing me to do something that I should have known was wrong to do.
Meanwhile, Autumn showed no remorse whatsoever, feeling like she had just been thrown under the bus. She added that Siobhan didn't know how to keep quiet under pressure.
She doesn't have a lot of backbone, and under the pressure, she just doesn't know when to shut her mouth.
In the end, only Siobhan's poached egg was deemed worthy of Chef Ramsay's taste buds, and he declared it was delicious, awarding her 1 point. Whose side are you on, though? And who else would you have wanted me to put on this list? Let me know in the comments section down below. Now, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And if you thought this video was crazy, then don't forget to check out my next post right here. It's even better.